40. That number has loomed large for me in the last few weeks. I respond to story prompts each Monday with Storyworth as a keepsake of thoughts and memories for my daughters. And one of the more difficult questions to come up so far was the task of trying to describe myself at 40. I'm 62. I'll be 63 in August, and it's really hard to remember life at 40. Last week in a podcast on music, I was reminded that 40 years ago this May, Bob Marley, the quintessential reggae singer and political activist, died from cancer at the age of 36. 40 years ago this April, my middle daughter was born. And 40 years ago, on the weekend I'm posting this, my dad passed away at the age of 47, just shy of his 48th birthday in July. 40 years ago, my entire world turned upside down, just 1 month before one of the most joyous occasions of my life. For my dad, the sun rose and set on my oldest daughter, Brittany. His eyes lit up in ways I had never seen when he looked at me, and I didn't realize how normal that was until my first grandchild was born. And then I understood completely. It isn't more love. It's the power of the love you gave your child, amplified and multiplied and exploded into the universe when you see the love your child is giving to another human being of their creation. It's the same, and it's different, and it's complicated. For me, I have always grieved that he wasn't able to see the birth of Elise into the cosmos, or that she would ever get to know him, or that he would not be here when Sarah came into the family. All they have are the occasional stories my mom and I share, and a few pictures. And it just isn't enough. After 40 years, I can still see his face as if it was yesterday. I share many resemblances with him, and I see him in the mirror every morning. But I've lost his voice, and I understand that's one of the first things to fade. I just can't hear him talk anymore. Not even in the imagination of my mind. It's just gone. Poof. I guess that's where I have a distinct advantage with my own kids. I have many more pictures of me as a result of the ease with which you can make digital pictures compared to film. But I also have videos posted to YouTube on a consistent basis that will be there, I suppose, forever. And at any given moment after I'm gone, my kids and my grandkids and their kids can pull one up and hear me again. Now, this chair may not look like much, and in fact, I wasn't completely aware of its significance until recently. I do have a tendency to forget or to check out. And it's been sitting upstairs in the front room of my mom's house, absolutely unused. When she decided to declutter the room a bit and spread things out, she asked me to put it downstairs in a storage closet. And then, almost as an aside, she said, "You know, I bought that chair for your dad." What? This was my dad's chair? How could I have overlooked that? I mean, I know it wasn't the first time I was told, but somehow that's how memories are. They play tricks on you. And the chair did not go into a closet. Instead, it has become an anchor piece of furniture in my own newly renovated and redesigned living room. I bought a modern floor lamp to hover over it and highlight it as the main source of light at night. Sometimes I sit in it, but mostly it's just there if it's needed. A spot of orange in a field of gray, and a living, breathing memory. I haven't started talking to it yet, but it's early. And I have to take really good care of it because it isn't mine. Elise has claimed it as part of the things my mom has offered to my kids when she's no longer here, and it will serve as a connection for her to the man she should have met, should have grown up with, should have been loved by, but was denied. 40 years on, and not a day goes by that I don't see him somewhere. I was changed by his life, I've certainly been changed by his death, and I continue to be changed by his memory. And after 40 years, the pain and the grief has subsided, but the loss never will.